Well, welcome everybody. I close the doors. There's a lot of bathroom traffic on this end. It gets a little bit noisy. So, um, yeah. So, my name is Dan Snow. I'm with Walsh Construction Company. Honored to be on this panel and was asked to moderate. So, feel very, no worries. Feel very fortunate to be included in this conversation. I think I'll introduce everybody across the board and then we'll get into our presentation. So, again, my name is Dan Snow with Walsh Construction. I'm in senior management, and it's my 34th year at Walsh. And again, this is a very interesting project from a lot of different standpoints. It really wraps in a lot of what the state is trying to do, the affordable housing world's trying to do, and solving other problems related to climate and et cetera. So, very interesting project. So, on our panel is first I want to introduce Rose Oida from CASA. Rose is the Manufactured Housing Program Manager of CASA. And if you don't know, CASA is an acronym for Community and Shelter Assistance. So CASA's mission is working with community organizations and individuals. CASA builds generational wealth for those who have been marginalized, specifically farm workers and people of color, through advocacy, asset building, organizing, and affordable housing development. So Rose's early career at HUD grounded her interest in housing policy and affordable housing. Since then, Rose has worked for more than 29 years developing affordable housing for Cascadia Health, Hacienda, CDC, and obviously now CASA of Oregon. So Rose. Leticia Cervantes, sitting next to me, is the Mass Timber Innovation Director for Hacienda Community Development. So Hacienda CDC is a Latino-led community development corporation that strengthens families by providing affordable housing, homeownership supports, economic advancement, and educational opportunities. So Leticia has degrees from, I'm going to get this wrong, but Maastricht, or is that close enough? University School of Business and Technology at De Monterrey. So no, anyway. She has spent over 10 years in high-level management operation positions in companies such as Dannon and Philip Morris. So a lot of manufacturing experience. She's a specialist in industrial and systems engineering. She joined Hacienda as the innovation director in April of 22 to lead the Mass Casitas project. And position is relatively new position for Hacienda, and she was hired specifically for this role. And then moving on to Alex. So Alex at Salazar Architects collaborates with community partners to create space for climate justice and advancement of racial, gender, and economic equity in the built environment. Early in his career, Alex apprenticed with NGOs in India, designing culturally appropriate earthquake-safe homes, and he later served on the board of directors of multiple housing justice organizations in Oakland, California, and Boston. His decades of experience leading multifamily developments and community-based master plan continues to shape the firm's body of work and their mission abroad. So Alex is the founding partner of Salazar Architects. He was born and raised in the Bay Area and started this firm in 2007, I believe, and moved to Portland in 2015 and successfully built a strong business around these mission and values. So that's our team, and I have the easy part, just being moderator introduction. So I'm going to turn it over to Rose to get started on the presentation.
Thanks, Dan. Doesn't use the mic here. All right. Let's see. Let me get started here. And then actually, did you want to present this particular slide?
Sure. Yeah, just to orient everybody to the kind of context if you're not familiar with the area, although I imagine many of you are. So this is, the kind of southern part of Oregon as you head down I-5 to California. And it's the Rogue Valley. And the fire, just for context here, started kind of the northern part of Ashland and worked its way through a river or a creek system. And Bear Creek really expanded in talent, a lot of damage in talent, a lot of damage in Phoenix, and worked its way into southern Medford. So you can see some of the stats here of what was lost. 3,200 acres were burned, 2,600 homes lost, around 1,700 manufactured homes lost out of that total. Hard to get these statistics exactly. Maybe somebody here knows more than me, but about 8,500 people were left homeless, and definitely a disproportionate impact on Spanish-speaking communities. In Phoenix and Talent, one stat I found was that about 50% of the families in the school districts were displaced. So really significant impacts in the community that we're serving.
Great, thanks, Alex. Use that. All right. So I'm here to talk about CASA of Oregon and the work that we've been doing in Southern Oregon. As Dan explained, CASA of Oregon is a nonprofit affordable housing developer. We are affiliated with both NeighborWorks as a member, and then also we are affiliated with Rock USA, which is our national partner based out of New Hampshire, and it's their model that we're implementing for our resident-owned community program, manufactured housing and cooperative development. And we've been in this business for 35 years, starting first with developing housing for farm workers. Since that time, we have evolved into other forms of development, including other multifamily development for low-income families, facilities, work with various nonprofits and local housing authorities. We also have an asset building program. Our Family and Economic Opportunity Program operate the Individual Development Accounts Program. Of course, we have our resident-owned communities, and we are also a certified CDFI. We have our community loan fund. We have about, I believe, around 20 million in capital available for pre-development loans, construction loans, and bridge loans and permanent loans. Most of that funding is for our own projects that we get involved in the development phase. So what is a resident-owned community? Again, we are a partner of Rock USA, and we are what is called a certified technical assistance provider. There are 10 affiliates across 19 states in the US. It's a very niche kind of program and service that we're providing. So we haven't been able to expand to too many other nonprofits yet, where Rock USA is always looking for those partners. And it also means that we have to find partners in states where they are supportive of manufactured dwelling park preservation. And there aren't that many. Oregon, I think, leads the pack in terms of all of its advocacy and legislative protections for manufactured dwelling park residents. So to date, though, we have still managed to preserve as a network 309 parks. So that's a really quite an achievement. So I believe we started, or Rock USA started this program in the mid to late 80s. So what we do is we convert investor-owned manufactured dwelling parks into resident-owned communities. We do start with the opportunity to purchase law in Oregon, which gives residents a right to receive a notice of the owner's intent to sell the park. And that was enacted originally in 2014, and it has since been amended to give residents more time in which to respond to their seller around whether or not they're going to proceed with the purchase of the park. And we basically come in, we actually make the offer to purchase, and then later we assign the purchase and sale agreement to the residents once they have formed a co-op. And all the while we are consulting with the resident leadership group to see if they want to move forward with this park purchase. And this is a risk for CASA, because we basically take on the full risk until they're ready to both form a cooperative and then later make the ultimate decision about whether they can proceed with the financing, the rent increase, which they inevitably are going to have to face because park prices are so expensive right now, and approve their operating budget. So all the way through, the risk is on CASA, not the resident-owned community that has formed in the form of a cooperative. We help organize and train the residents. We have a resident organizer who meets with the residents pretty much weekly, because the time frames for getting them moving forward is pretty tight. So the organizer does all the training with the residents and educates them on the process, make sure they're moving forward with all the steps that are necessary to proceed with the park purchase. And then we have a project manager who actually works on the negotiating the contract, getting the financing, and then dealing with all the due diligence, and then working with the organizer and the board that is elected by the residents to continue to move this project forward. We also do, as part of the due diligence process, assist with the infrastructure improvements that are going to be needed as part of the financing. The lender will review all the due diligence reports, and they will want to make sure that we've incorporated capital improvements as part of the financing. And then once it's purchased, the residents receive ongoing technical support. We have a team of technical assistance managers who really act as business advisors, mediators, counselors, as needed for the boards. And we are in there for pretty much the life of the loan, and continuing to provide them with ongoing operational support. And we also do have an asset manager at CASA that is charged with the responsibility of, reviewing the entire portfolio, serves as a liaison between the technical assistance manager, the property management company, and the board. And what we're doing is we're hopefully, moving forward with about 2 to 3 park conversions a year. We might see in the range of 10 to 12 notices of intent to sell per year, but we generally are only able to proceed with a few per year. And by the end of this year, we're hoping we'll have our 26 parked, closed and converted. And this is a photo of our very first park, Horizon, in McMinnville. And that was a park that was completely redeveloped. And as you can see here, there are vacant lots because it was a complete redevelopment. Half the residents moved out, half the residents stayed. And I see Claudia here, who was instrumental in getting that done. Claudia Cantu is now with the Oregon Housing Community Services. And it was quite a challenge to redevelop this park and move existing residents, offsite, then back, and then moved again as we were proceeding with the construction of the project. So it was quite a feat. So one of the things, of course, we always are having to deal with is infill and replacement of manufactured homes that sometimes get abandoned and then they have to be demolished and removed, or we may end up with a park that has a few, vacant lots. And so our job is to work with the board to develop a plan for filling those vacant lots. And we have worked with a variety of partners to achieve that. I did want to talk about kind of the what we've done in the past. And I'm going to start at the bottom there because that was a pretty unique, and our attorney at the time, who's also our project manager, told me it was legal, so we did it. And we actually accepted donated manufactured homes when we were first filling the Horizon Homeowners Cooperative. So that was really a unique approach that we took to try to get those units filled. We were dealing with very low income households there, so we really had to be really careful about what they could actually afford in terms of buying a manufactured home. And so we were successful in getting some post-95, I think was the goal, manufactured homes in the park. And we ended up with 9. So there were 9 individuals throughout pretty much Yamhill County, I think, who donated manufactured homes. These came from rural areas, some from parks. ODOT at one time was developing the bypass through Bybee, through, I think it's a Dundee bypass now. And they were actually going to eliminate a whole manufactured dwelling park community. And we were on the verge of getting their donated homes, but that fell through. They had to sell them instead. We've worked with utility companies to help with weatherization of homes to avoid their displacement. We have, of course, our community loan fund, and we have replaced a few homes and co-ops using small chattel loans to, I believe, 2 or 3 individuals. And we offer forgivable loans if they're extremely low income. And those are the folks we generally have had to help out to get into these vacant units and fill the lots. We work with the Department of Energy. They have a great heat pump program, so we're using that. We have a state manufactured home replacement loan program and partners through the Energy Trust of Oregon. I think this year we're probably going to end up with about 6 homes that we're going to be able to replace with that program in our co-ops, and that we're just so grateful because so many of these homes are just really in poor condition and are just extremely energy inefficient. And then, of course, we, CASA IDAs. Unfortunately, we have not been able to use any IDAs for manufactured home replacement. I double checked with our director and she said we haven't been successful with a single one yet. But we're still hoping, and we do work with some of our residents in our co-ops to get IDAs moving forward so they can potentially at one point replace their homes. But this coming year, we hope combined with the manufactured home loan program, we'll be able to have some success there. And then, of course, we are working with our partner, Hacienda, Walsh, and Salazar Architects with the Mas Casita modular units, which we're really excited about and which you'll learn more about. So as part of our wildfire recovery effort, we got involved with as early as we could to try to find parks that were potentially going to go up in the market for sale for redevelopment. These parks had all been destroyed. I think there was a total of 15 parks in Jackson County. Somebody can correct me on that, but it was significant. There was quite a variety of homes parks that were destroyed. And Talent Mobile Estate was one where we got in touch with the owner early. It was really challenging because right after a fire, there's a lot that the owner has to deal with. They have to clean the park, basically. I mean, they have to scrub the site clean. They're dealing with lenders and they're dealing with insurance companies, and they're negotiating for quite a while to try to figure out what they're going to end up with at the end. And so it took the seller, a couple of years to make a decision, as to whether or not he was going to sell or not. So we were kind of like, there were times when I really felt like he was stringing us along for about a year, but it was really just that he really didn't know what the best course for him to take. So this took quite a while. And then, of course, we started getting in touch with, once we were under contract for Talent, we immediately got in partnership with a organization who could help us with community engagement to move this property forward, help us with the redesign. We got involved with a local emerging culturally specific organization, Coalición Fortaleza. And then, of course, our state partners, Oregon Housing and Community Services, helped us immediately with acquisition funds, and they're going to be helping us once we start construction with the development costs as well as funding for the replacement of manufactured structures. So the partnerships were really vital. Again, we're still in the process of having to fill these units. So we were able to, like I said, get in touch with Hacienda and Salazar and Walsh Construction to look at the possibility of siting a couple of Mas Casita units at Talent Mobile Estates. And we were successful in that. So we're really excited about that opportunity. There you go.
All right, so I'm going to dig into the project itself and the design, but just you heard a little bit about our firm, so I won't go into too much detail. I think the main thing here for us, or this slide, part of it is just recognize that our firm grew quite a bit during COVID, particularly because of this project, which is Las Adelitas with Hacienda CTC. Actually, Rose was the developer in the very beginning. And during this time, we took our firm and we basically transformed it. We have 3 groups essentially in the firm working on projects. We have a group focused on community engagement work and community design. We call it Community Design Lab. We have a group of folks focused on well-being design, so more of the social science piece, trauma-informed design, universal design, et cetera, and how that integrates into our projects. And we have a group focused on sustainable design. So the real kind of technical knowledge of how to reduce our carbon footprint, how to get to zero net energy in the buildings that we make. So we're very intentional when we interface with particularly community-based organizations. So on Talent Mobile Estates, we usually call it TME, a traditional process, schematic design, heading through construction, and it's very quick and it's 6 months usually. And what we've done on this project is mostly engaged with our community design lab and interfaced with that process very intentionally to do workshops and to learn as much as we can from the community and incorporate those elements into the design work. So I'm going to walk through each of these workshops, kind of tell you how we did it, what we did, and show you sort of the end result and where we're about to start construction. And just one last bit on the teams. Because we have 2 different things going on. We have Talent Mobile Estates with its team on the bottom left. You can see there's about 8 different companies involved, and then Amas Casitas, another 6 core companies involved, which have now kind of combined on one site. So it's kind of really interesting and unique and exciting, and you'll see that as we go along. So our first workshop, we've learned this from another community engagement consultant, but we do, generally speaking, start engagement processes this way now in our firm, which are basically build your favorite childhood memory or build your favorite whatever it is. And we incorporate that into the design process because it gets people right from the onset at a community meeting to start to be engaged, to think spatially, but also think on the creative side of their brain, not technically. When you start to get into those issues, then it can lead to problems with the site or whatever the technical issues are that the community has. So it's a different way of starting a process, and we've kind of embraced that. It was very successful. I think the other big difference when we did this series of workshops is we did everything in Spanish first. English was an option if you needed it. So it was just the level of engagement was just way beyond what we have typically seen. So I highly recommend that. So you can see the creative objects, people kind of pick from a table, whatever they would like, and then they build in about 10 minutes, build whatever their favorite memory was, things that are important to them. And then we go around the room and talk with people and they tell their story, like a minute, just tell us what your story is. And so basically what comes out of it is you start to hear very similar common themes emerge that are representative of the community and that really reflect their values. And so we keep good notes and we try to incorporate that in the design as we go forward. Another piece that we did at this very first workshop is then we took those elements and we brought them into the master planning work. So we created a modeling kit that had the units and had these little creative objects, and we asked them from what they had just built on the visioning part to bring it into the site plan. And then we had each table kind of work through that. And these are all folks from the community who were displaced kind of coming back together at this event. And through that, we learned a lot about the site, what people thought should happen at the site, different elements, open space, housing, roads, etc. And then we came back probably about a month later, started to dig down deeper into the community spaces around the community building and around the community building itself, and took some of those creative, colorful objects and again, kind of carried it forward to look conceptually about what should happen around the community building, what should happen in the community building, to gain feedback from the communities that were displaced. And I would say kind of parallel with this was Coalición Fortaleza, who was organizing the tenants or the former tenants to then come back to these events. And some of the folks in the coalition itself were displaced. So very direct involvement of the community organizers and their communities into the process itself. And then we came back, workshop 3, probably another month or so later, and started, now that we had a first sort of schematic design. So we did all of that first workshops, what I would usually call pre-design, before we really start in the schematic process. And here we are in the schematic design phase. Be able to take what we learned in the pre-design and bring it into the schematic design, do some design work, and then we came back to the community and then asked for direct feedback on our first kind of master planning. And so here you see some of the boards. There was probably 6 different boards or something like that. We had different tables again. People broke out, had discussions. We did, mainly discussions and dot voting to try to figure out what were the best decisions and the options that we had to make at that moment around open space and how that would be used and how that would affect the master plan. And then we carried forward as a very quick design process, I would say, through design development and getting into construction documents. And then we came back at the tail end of construction documents, which is now just about 2 months ago. And the rock model was being discussed during the day. And then they were voting on, as you see, people raising their hands on the name for the community, which is now formally Talent Mobile Estates Cooperative. So pretty straightforward. But we use that as an opportunity to, again, engage folks with dot voting around colors, because we're going to have a paint party during construction to individualize the units or the homes once they're on site. And then also we made some decisions around what murals to prioritize to be done first. So we have some community murals, both inside and outside, that will go into the development. And here you see the master plan as it stands today. There's the community building kind of on the southern edge here, the Mas Casitas units that we'll talk about in a minute, the 2 experimental units that were delivered to the site. And I would say the big moves here is that we created more pathways through the development, more open space. We connected 2 sides of the development to give people more options and circulation. We hope to build a better connection to what is essentially like a little alley at the south side. And all of that in part for fire safety and just having more exits and ability for people to get out of the site, which was a big issue during the fire. And just to advance one more slide here, you see the sort of the end result of the community building. The colors are conceptual at this point. I think this was rendered before our final rendering, but you get a sense of how the outdoor landscape will be developed. And we did a lot of moves with the community building, adding some rooms, creating better circulation for parties and events to utilize the outdoor open space, some accessibility additions around bathrooms and the laundry room. Pretty straightforward, but with community involvement in the decisions. And then as we transition now to the homes, again, most of the homes are manufactured homes out of a factory in McMinnville. That's by Skyline. So these are pre-designed, pre-engineered homes that are delivered to the site. And I would say on that aspect, the hardest thing has been the foundations. We're still in the process of evaluating that, but with this type of building, it's pre-engineered, pre-manufactured offsite, but then it's brought on. And so the real decision is how to deal with the soils and the foundations. And there are multiple options, and there are multiple companies involved in deciding kind of what the best options are based on the soils, depth of soil, all the factors that will go into that. So, and as we've learned, electrical lines as well. So, word of warning for anyone who does this type of housing. And so you have the manufacturing offsite, but you still need your engineers as part of the architect team on site to deal with all the foundations and master planning aspects. I see one question, maybe you could hold it till the end, if you don't mind. And then on the right, you see the Mas Casitas homes. We're going to go in depth on it. And we had 2 of these experimental units created in Terminal 2 here at Port of Portland and delivered to the site as part of a program that has 6 homes that were built, delivered to multiple places in the state. And Talent was lucky to get 2 of them as part of this development. And with that, I will pass on the lectures.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to stand. I feel like I cannot talk seated. Thank you for being here. I know that this is a heavy time after lunch. In Mexico, we say mal del puerco. I don't know who understands Spanish, but that's a funny way. I don't know how to say that in English, though. But anyways, so my name is Leticia Cervantes, and I'm the Mass Timber Innovation Director. I work for Hacienda CDC. Our mission in Hacienda basically is to strengthen families. Of course, Hacienda is a Latino-led organization, and we provide affordable housing services, homeownership support, and also some economic advancement opportunities for our community. So affordable housing is at the core of what we do in Hacienda. And basically in this area is where our Mas Casitas project was born. Well, before going to that, I'm gonna give a little bit of context. Mas Casitas, the name of the project is out of 2 words. The first one, mas, that stands for mass timber, and casitas is a name in Spanish that is referring to small homes. So this is the name. A little bit of context of this also is that this project starts December 2021 when we receive the confirmation from the legislature that we have been granted $5 million to develop this project, and we work this also in partnership with the Port of Portland. I will explain a little bit further why. So why we are doing this is very well known for everybody that Oregon is facing one of the most challenging housing crises. there are different reasons, and we have been discussing here in this panel the families that have been losing their homes due to the wildfires. So in Hacienda, we understand the urgency to bring more alternatives, and basically this prototype always aim to demonstrate that we can build modular mass timber in probably a faster way, more efficient and less expensive than traditional construction methods. So basically that's the objective of the project. As Alex was mentioned, we want to build 6 mass timber modular homes made out of 10 modules. And we have a deadline to deliver these June 2023. At this moment, we are wrapping up the project. We did it very well. And also we placed these 6 homes in 4 different areas of Oregon, as a small map in yellow there is showing you. We placed them in Otis, Portland, and Madras and Talent. The reason for doing this is because we want to also test the material in different climates in Oregon. So after the homes has been placed, we are going to have a 12-month period with visits to the homes just to see how the material is doing. And also we are very interested in the feedback that we can receive from the families that are living there. So where do we did this? The Port of Portland give us the opportunity to build our operation in a warehouse that they have in Terminal 2. This land was basically available for us, so we accept. It made completely sense at the very beginning of the project. We also want to try and prove if we can move these homes by train. We couldn't get to that point. It was too expensive. We only have 5 million. So, but this is also an idea that we have in the long-term vision. So I love these pictures here because that frames our beginning, the warehouse. We start the operation from scratch, empty warehouse. Truth to be told is that we manufacturing a big banner just to create a sense of belonging and pertinence. And we start with nothing but a banner and a clear vision that we want to accomplish in the next 12 months. The project has 6 homes. We built 2 homes out of 3 different modules. We have studios, we have 2 bedrooms, and we have 3 bedrooms homes. We made out 2 of them just for try to have the opportunity to repeat the model, not just once, but iterating the learnings during the construction process. So I would let Alex talk to us a little bit about the design of the homes.
Yeah, just a little bit about the technology, and Dan is here as well to speak to this. But basically, these mass plywood panels, so they come in anywhere from like 2-inch to 4-inch thick, manufactured by the Ferris brothers, which is a company outside of Salem. It's the only manufacturing facility for this type of plywood in the United States, for sure. There may be one in Europe, I'm not sure, but so very unique to Oregon. And the real innovation there is that the finish product is the finish of the wall. So we used it in this first pilot for the floor, for the walls, for the ceiling. You'll see some images of that. And then on outside of that is the insulation and the siding. So we have cementitious siding, so very resilient to wildfires. We have a really good amount of insulation. We have the opportunity for solar panels on the roof. And we modularized it to have these sort of, in a way, be able to combine things very efficiently. And I think the real story on how we worked as a team was really day-to-day, meeting every day in the first couple months to really quickly move this through the design process. It was, I think we had about 4 months to innovate the system, design it, and get it to permit to meet the schedule, which was extremely demanding. Really, it was sort of like a design build effort, although we were 3 different kind of entities coming together to really expedite the process. So in a nutshell, that's, next slide. And here you see a little bit of the interiors. We do have some photos. I'm not sure if it's at the end of this, but anyway, kind of gives you a sense of the interiors. And they pretty much do look like that. A lot of plywood on the walls, a few walls that were stick framed where we need them. But mostly it's the natural wood that you get in the environment. With that, I'll pass it back.
Thank you, Alex. I'm gonna try to unplug my video. I just, let's see if this work. Oh, it's not working. I don't know what happened. Well, I lost it. Anyways, so this is the I don't know. I think I lost some slides there, but this is the interior of the houses. There, as you can see, we try to give a look like an industrial look here. It was a challenge, of course, designing this with the panels all exposed. Our design team need to decide what do we want to do with the electric conduits, and of course, it requires an extra work from the people building the homes there. But I think that the homes look just amazing. We lost the slides to talk a little bit about the process. So I will pass you Dan the word just in case you want to highlight some things about the construction process.
Yeah, so I think Alex kind of touched on it, but the schedule was really, really fast. As Alex said, it was more of an integrated team approach. We had to start with an understanding that the whole team understood that. We had to pick materials that were readily available. This was kind of at the end of the big, huge crunch on different, appliances and electrical and mechanical systems. So it was very, very integrated. As he said, we met every day, and it seemed like maybe a little bit of overkill, but it really was needed. We had to, I think we really started in earnest in late June, and we had to order material in mid October. So as Alex said, it was a really short window to get all this done. The team worked great together, and we had to, the MPP comes, you have to have shop drawings, and we had whole locations. And so there's a lot of not only, architectural questions going on, but at the same time, we really had to get down to the, 1/8 of an inch, 1/60th of an inch on what we were doing. So there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and yeah, it was just a great process. Everybody worked well together, and we got it done. So.
Thank you, Dan. And I just want to highlight one more time. This picture over here was when we were celebrating the opening of our operation. This picture was taken in January this year. So basically, we are super proud because we basically could construct and build these homes in less than 4 months, if my calculations are right. So this is part of what we were trying to really test, like we can bring a new alternative that could be faster than what we have now. Okay, this is the slide. Well, this
Maybe.
okay, my video. Thank you very much. This video over here is just a time lapse for when we receive our first panels from Ferris. We were putting there. This is basically the floor of the structure. And these pictures over here are part of the construction process that we already have discussed.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I think the warehouse was sloped. So, we went with a pretty low tech approach, knowing that, the idea of this is to get it to scale at some point, but we didn't want to spend, a lot of the project money on, decking out the facility. So those blocks you see are just kind of leveling blocks to make sure we had a nice flat floor to build off of. But it was pretty low tech program. But yeah, I think all of the boxes, including floors, walls, and roofs, were together in 3 weeks or so.
Yes.
Once we got the material. So the system moved very, very quickly, like we planned on. So
Yes, thank you, Dan. And well, of course, something important for us was try to partner with other nonprofit organizations. All these 6 houses were donated. So we partnered with CASA of Oregon and also with Community Vision. Those are great nonprofit organizations that are receiving, as Alex was saying, we placed 2 homes at Talent. And Community Vision here in Portland received last week also another 2 homes. So for us, it was important. What are we gonna do with this? So basically, we gave it away. And I'm gonna show you some pictures. This was last week when we finally received the permits from Portland, and we just placed the homes there. This is a home that was delivered to the Benedict family. I have the pleasure to meet them. This is a family that lost their home during the wildfires also, and of course for them, it was a day to celebrate. So we were there with them, I think like 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is the end home at Madras, Oregon. I think Casa is just about to start looking for the family that is going to be living there. And of course, also Portland, our vision, sorry to go back, but our vision in Portland would be to end the project by the end of October. And yeah, I think we are super proud of what we accomplished in 12 months. At the very beginning, it seems like something not doable, but we, as a team, we did a great job. So. And well, this is actually a picture. Sometimes people ask me if this is a render. No, this is an actual picture of the homes in Talent. So this is a question that we receive a lot. What the next steps are gonna be as we are wrapping up the pilot project. Our big dream is to try to mass escalate the production of these homes. We have learned that the product is very welcome in the communities. We test and we deliver in rural areas, as you are seeing it, but also in urban areas, sorry. I mean, the product look beautiful. And I want to say also that these homes are designed also for people who has disabilities, and that they met all the requirements. So that's why we start from the very beginning, engage the people who is going to be receiving. In this case, Community Vision works with people that has disabilities. So just that's the big dream. We do not know yet if we're going to be able to make it. That's the plan. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge my team. Of course, Alex Salazar, Rose, Casa, and Dan Snow. You're amazing, guys. We basically did this together. And also Celestina, thank you very much. You started working with us at the very beginning of the project, and Jennifer, I'm seeing you there. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I think I know there's one question. Go ahead. Well, I think I don't know, Leticia, if you could go back and click on maybe one of the Portland slide. So as you can see there, in this particular case, and Alex was talking about the rest of Talent, and they're trying to figure out the foundation. But I think this project took the approach of we're going to have a solid concrete foundation. So yeah, so as you can see in that picture, we have footings and walls, and they're all with a plate, for the box to reside on. So it was all prepared, and yeah, that process was done in 4 to 5 hours of setting those 3 boxes. So yeah.
So yeah, and the Mascasitas took the approach of staying conventional in a way, which in some ways added some cost. On the other 78 some odd units we're building at TME, because even just a little bit of savings will help when you multiply it out over many units. We're trying to find the most efficient foundation system. And so that's where we've had to look at, I think, at least 3 or maybe 4 now foundation systems. And so that's a huge factor. And then the soils are a huge factor in making those decisions. That's what I was alluding to. And we're still in the middle of those decisions, but we're pretty close now.
Oh, thanks. How many square feet are these units?
I think I can answer that. So we have 3 different models. The studio is about 426 square foot. The 2-bedroom is 850, and the 3-bedroom is like 1136 square foot. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm curious, the porches look.
It's because we have people in, so thank
Zoom.
you very much.
Sorry, I didn't know that. I saw that the porches had steps. Is there a way for a wheelchair to get into the unit?
Yes, so it's designed if someone needs to add a ramp. On the other side of that little deck, you can attach after the fact a ramp if necessary. So we left space for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, so, you know, you're rebuilding this. Did you take advantage of any materials to help resist against future wildfires that maybe affect the same area again?
Yeah, yeah. Principally, the building shell is cementitious siding, so resistant to fires. And then how the wall meets the foundation. Also, it's important to not allow wildfires to sweep up underneath. So, combination of that is probably the biggest thing. Fire resistant roofing materials, etc. All very important. And then number of exiting, to get out of a larger community is also very important. So we kind of factored all of that together. And there's a number of other more technical things that I probably could say, but I'm not such the technical person. Jake, I think at our office, Jen perhaps has a few things to add here if you want to talk with her afterwards. But yeah, that's kind of broad brush.
Actually, I think mass timber itself is a material that has a good fire rate, so it burns a lower rates than other materials that are used traditionally for manufacturing homes.
I've been interested in modular housing for a long time, and 6 units is cool. 600 units would be really dang exciting. How do we get there? What are the obstacles? And what can partners like the state of Oregon do to get rid of those obstacles?
No one wants to take that.
I mean, and right after the wildfires, one of the initial crisis was the lack of production availability, and keeping in mind that we were also in the middle of a pandemic. And so they had to reduce labor in response to the COVID workplace requirements, essentially. So it was a real big problem, and everybody was trying to figure out, well, how do we, keep this production moving forward, and where are all the producers in Oregon? It's my understanding that we've actually lost manufacturing plants in Oregon over the last 20 years. So really, we need to build them back up. And I think modular housing is certainly a great example of what we need to continue to support. There's also a nonprofit, St. Vincent de Paul, that is starting a more traditional manufactured structure housing plant in Eugene. And we need to support their effort as well. So I just, whatever the state can do to continue to provide funding for those developments, we're definitely on board with that.
Yeah, and I would add a couple of things that always stand out to me as really important. Exactly what Rose just said. There's existing facilities, so how do you maintain them and advance them, and maybe in this case incorporate mass timber into those kinds of products. The other is to build up new capacity in the Mas Casitas program, version 2.0, we hope will be funded. Just to make a little plug, which I think is state funding. I think, I think anything we can do to ramp up production in a way that also utilizes local labor. So I don't know, I'm not a labor person, but, getting these these capacities to be in different parts of the state would be important from a delivery aspect and also from an economic equity aspect of building up communities and employment.
Something. Now everybody wants to speak. Now, I would say that just thinking a little bit about the learnings that we have in the project, I believe that we need to generate like training on the people that is approving the plans, because we have a lot of confusion between manufacturing homes, prefab homes, and we have also, I don't know if you remember when we tried to find a spot where to place the home, they do not receive or allow because they have very specific zoning requirements. And I believe that if we are in a crisis in Oregon, we can create or bring to the table another building alternatives, but there is also other things that the state need to move forward for being like at the same time working at the same speed. So that's where I will add.
And I would just add that I think in this particular case, you know, the only we really limited the field work once the houses got there, which was great on cost. But a lot of what happens on the modular still is the site. I mean, there's still, as was alluded to, there is a lot of it's hard to find a decent flat site anymore. So the more difficult the site is, the more infrastructure you have to put in, and the more access you have to get to them. So utilities, et cetera. So the cost of the piece of the site is still significant when it comes to modular housing. And I think that's what everybody kind of forgets, is that we've got kind of the above ground stuff figured out, but there's still a lot of cost with the in ground, and still a lot of engineering, still a lot of planning and stuff that goes along with it. So it's finding the needle in the haystack right now. So
So I had a question, or I guess just thinking outside the box. I'm from Salem, and they have the Career and Technical Education Center, which is a public-private partnership. And so there is a construction program in that where high school students build sheds. I'm wondering, since this is a kit of parts, you know, is it mostly just more complex systems, or you would need an actual trained sub, or could there be some sort of partnership with them where maybe it's not at their facility, but their students are coming to help doing some of the parts of the project to help offset the cost to create them? And then also even thinking at, you know, the architecture school level, it's really good for architects to get hands-on experience while we're going through school, because we come out. I know I volunteered for a year at Habitat for Humanity, so I could get some hands-on experience that I didn't have. So maybe you could create programs, or I think you'd actually have architecture students that would want to help, you know, put these together as well. And that could even be a course you get credit for or something.
I think that's a great comment. Basically, also something that we are trying to explore now. We really believe in networking and to try to accomplish more if we do this together. So in some conversation about thinking in the future, we have opened the door to Portland Youth Builders, for example, that exactly they have the same program as you are mentioned. They have students there, and then they go there and participate in the building and the construction. So they receive training, and in a way we receive labor. So this type of partnerships, I think, can work very well.
Yeah, because anecdotally, I've heard from people in the construction industry that, you know, when they were younger, they had some of these exposures in high school and things. And I think because of liability and more complex systems, that we've moved away from that. So if we can bring down those barriers to give more opportunities where we can for some of that hands-on experience and getting people excited about going into, you know, these areas where we're seeing we need to fill a need to get more people on the ground. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So we were kind of internally talk. I'm sorry, is there another question? Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
My name is Stephanie Hooper. I'm with Age Plus, and we are also doing modular in talent for low-income older adults. And I just echo everything you're saying about the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to figure this out, and how we can help educate jurisdictions too about that infrastructure need. And I think this modular approach really is one solution in a shotgun approach to all the different types of housing we need. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, I want to say too that from a public investment perspective, in the metro area, we're looking at, per unit development costs, approaching definitely more than $500,000, I believe. Single median price of a home in Oregon is approaching again $500,000. Talent Mobile Estates is estimated with land and the units at $250,000 per space for home ownership. So, I mean, you look at these numbers and this is a testament to how much more public investment, how much further public investment can go by supporting this model.
Hello. Okay. My name is Eric Foley with Earth Advantage. Appreciated the conversation, excited about the project. Earth Advantage has been involved with a lot of modular development projects over the years. And we've learned through those different places that are in the state of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, California, that a good quality management plan is key also in conjunction with the siting process. So there are some standards for those that are considering this process through the ICC MBI, which is a standardization for offsite manufacturing and also for quality assurance. It's an education for jurisdictions and so forth. So for those that are considering this type of thing, there are other solutions. The group that up here has a lot of experience as well. So when you have a really quality group, you can get through some of those challenges a little bit more experienced. But when you're working through and learning stuff on the fly, like we are right now with the manufacturer who is learning stuff while they're building, it's a lot more challenging and it slows the process down. So the steps ahead of time is really important to keep the speed of the process economically viable. Just want to share that. One other thing also for those that don't know, so there's CLT and there's MPP. CLT is cross-laminated timber. MPP is mass plywood panels. So just in case people don't know what those acronyms stand for.
Good point. Yeah. We always skip over the seemingly most obvious things, but yeah, it's just another anecdote on permitting. I mean, Walsh Construction had to become a manufacturer and had to be certified by the state. But that process literally was a month long. We filled out a couple forms and, they state stamped it and off we go. Secondly, the state was great to work with. I think really it was maybe 3 weeks of review time for the 3 modules. So they were great to work with. Their inspection process worked well. So from a state standpoint and doing this work, the state was absolutely fabulous to work with. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and just to add to that point, I think something that this team did well at the very beginning, we engage everybody. So we have even the transportation company there trying to help us with the dimensions and what are the design considerations that we need to have. So we have the state also involved in our kickoff of the project and trying to explain to them what are we going to do with this project. And I think that helped us to move forward, to move smoother in the process. So. No, that's fine. We have people in.
So question. So you had to be certified. Walsh had to be certified to be a manufacturer of these modular buildings. And it took about a month. Did that cause a delay in your production?
No, we started, we investigated what the process was as soon as we got on board the team and realized that we needed to get that process figured out quickly so that didn't become on the critical path. And so we probably month 2 started working with the state to get the forms filled out. And yeah, by month 3, I think we had the certification. So we didn't need the permit until we started manufacturing panels. So that was month 4.5 or so.
So may I ask a follow-up question?
does it strike anyone else as odd that a company like Walsh Construction that constructs skyscrapers, among other things, would need to be certified to build a building in general? Wouldn't they already be certified?
I think
mean, isn't there a moment
you're
where we kind of have to go, you're creating a hindrance that doesn't exist?
Well, I think if it would have been a very time-consuming process and cost a lot to do it, I would totally agree with you. But it was pretty simple. It was a couple forms back and forth, and there might have been a $100 fee or something. But I think more than anything, there's liability around who they come back to, if something goes wrong. So they need somebody to, to who say, hey, you're responsible for this. So it kind of makes sense from that standpoint. The state needs a body to to actually work with to say who's doing this. So, and Hacienda as a nonprofit, I don't think qualifies to be able to do it. So anyway, so we stepped up and just decided to do it. So anyway.
Yeah. At the very beginning of the process, I want to say that we were confused about who need to get certified. Hacienda, I was like, how I'm going to do this? And I remember like having this conversation with the architects, and then we say, okay, I think it makes sense that the organization responsible for build the homes. So that's why I passed the ball to Walsh. Thank you very much, Walsh, for
Yeah.
But yeah, it was confusing at the very beginning.
And just to piggyback one, so part of the question is why, or like we recognized very early because Leticia has all this manufacturing experience that we went through a whole session of just what are the critical path items? What are the things that could go wrong, might go wrong, or we don't know yet, we don't know what could go wrong. So we had to just vet all of these different issues on the construction side, architect side, the site side, like all these factors that could torpedo the timeline, which was 12 months to go from complete innovation of a new manufacturing system to then getting it permitted, to then delivering it and constructing it and finishing the job. So it was really intense. And so that was part of, I believe that came out of that discussion, essentially all these different things that each entity, we all had our own little task list to try to resolve very quickly to keep things on time. Yeah.
You kind of just answered my question because I was going to ask, I guess, for lessons learned for you guys at the table who normally do stationary buildings that don't move, which I can see, I think maybe ties into your question of like mobile architecture is something a little bit different than something you just build ground up and doesn't move from a crane or across state lines. I guess I was just, it sounds like Hacienda came to the table with a bunch of lessons learned and experience already, but I guess from your design process, like what did you guys learn from drawing, documenting, providing instruction to fabrication to delivery on site, and like what would you guys change for 2.0?
Well, I can start on some of that. I mean, I think there's been discussions internally, hopefully not saying too much here, but one of the discussions we're having is wanting to minimize cost. So every step of the way of this entire process has been, how do we get the cost down? How do we get it down? Because we want these to be affordable to regular folks and be viable as a manufacturing, plant. And so while we want to use as much MPP or mass plywood panels as possible, there are certain areas where we could value engineer that and use more conventional lumber. So that's an aspect that we're looking at. Roofing, or the roof structure also is something we're thinking about, whether you go to conventional trusses or not. So there's various aspects of the actual module that we're thinking about and what the next version could be, and I'll pass it back to Leticia.
Yeah, and I think something that we would like to improve. I mean, there is a lot of things to improve talking about the design. Something that we learned is that probably we can't do not build the interior walls for each models, because when you have 2 and 3 bedrooms homes, you put together 2 modules with like 2 boxes, like you are seeing in the picture there. So each side has like a wall, let's say. So we believe that there is something that we can work there to try to reduce cost, for example. And regarding you know, like zoning and other stuff, I already share which ones we believe that we can like try to work together with the government jurisdictions. I don't know.
I think it's so far as the land is concerned, in our case, we had, you know, a park that had been destroyed by the wildfire. So they had to clean it up. And then the owner didn't quite know what to do with it. So he thought, I think at some point, obviously, he thought he might redevelop it himself and lease out the spaces. So he went in and, you know, cleaned it up, made some improvements, added the utilities, added the lots, and that has come back to haunt us. We didn't need him to do any of that. But, you know, he thought he might be redeveloping his park and managing it. And in the end, it would have been so much better if we had just had a clean site. No utilities, nothing. Just don't do any more work. Just unload it, if that is what you plan to do. So we've discovered that kind of late in the process, but we're ultimately going to address it now. But that's one lesson learned too from the land standpoint, is just make sure it's as bare as possible. And then also, if you have a site that has been, you know, destroyed by a wildfire and they've used fire retardant to take care of the fire, that is potentially a hazardous material. So you just have to be aware of that, and you'll have to get a phase 2, and you'll have to develop a plan for monitoring any soil with that potential environmental hazard. They haven't concluded that it's an environmental hazard, but it has a potential. So you have to be aware of that. So.
And I think I just want to complement by saying that we really want to develop a product, a quality product that is affordable, you know, because sometimes we learn that when the people think about manufacturing prefab homes, they also relate with low quality materials. And this is something that we want to change. So that's why we want to continue working on the affordable side of this, because we really want to give a home that the people feel proud to own. I mean, this is part of the work that we are doing.
When I walk through the Madras site, I'll just add that, you know, I was there with the project manager from Walsh, and we walked through it, and it's a lovely 2-bedroom Las Pasitas unit. And we were both like, yeah, we could live here. No questions. It's really adorable and really livable. And, you know, it had a mini split system. It was 100 degrees outside. It was so comfortable inside. And it included all the appliances and all energy efficient. And it was just it's a lovely, lovely home.
Yeah, I would add that I think these, I mean, with the exterior insulation and the solid wood walls, I mean, these are going to be great places to live. I think they're going to use very, very little energy, and they're going to last. Nobody knows, but if maintained, you know, at least twice. Yeah, well, yeah, we do. Yeah. You know, I don't know how many years, but they'll last at least, I would say, twice as long as a regular manufactured home that you'd see. So anyway, we kind of have to keep that in mind in regards to this product. So, yeah. So, yeah, I know we're a little bit early, but any other questions by anybody? I don't know, did you, anybody, any other comments, I guess, from the panel, or other questions that have come up that?
Well,
wanna be answered?
I just want to add to kind of conclude this session, is that, you know, we came together in response to a crisis. And, you know, the sad reality is that we're going to continue to have these kinds of climate and man-made crises. And we need this solution of modular units, manufactured structures, and any other innovations that are going to be able to quickly respond to this kind of crisis. So that's one matter, but also this is a very affordable and, you know, we believe potentially durable housing option for both home ownership and rental units. And I think it behooves us all to really give this all serious consideration as we move forward with developing new models of housing. So thank you all very much. And I think we have one more comment back there. Question?
The question was. Yeah.
I believe in Jen.
The answer was no.
Well, at a single family scale, no. Yeah, you do need an engineer stamp for the structural. No, Jen's saying no. Well, Jen's the expert, so I guess not. Have fun. You don't need us.
Is this financed in a different way than a traditional manufactured home, which is not, you can't get a 30-year mortgage on it?
Yeah, this is a stick-built home. And this is titled as real property. On a ground lease in manufactured dwelling parks, but it has, it has to have a minimum of 20-year ground lease. No. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Jennifer wanted to add something. Thank you for bringing that up.
This was a lot of the conflict we had in some of the jurisdictions was really understanding the distinction between a mobile home and a manufactured home. And even a manufactured home has to be removable from the foundation. So we had to prove that we could remove the unit, that it wasn't permanently attached to the foundation. So it was, some jurisdictions really didn't care. Others were very tuned into it. And it was quite a process to get through that.
Correct. Yeah. 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 I mean, I think the building codes really has to catch up with this. And so this is something that we're going to continue to work on to have them fix. Because this is kind of silly. Every home is movable, technically. Well, thank you all for your participation.
You see, you have to be here.
I would just love